I would rather promote and push public transport based on electric rather than private. Private is good enough. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But government effort should be on the public transport. Why that is the case? Here is the reason. Jakarta is the largest megapolitan in the southern hemisphere. And we have been adopting car-oriented development for decades. And in order for our city to be a more livable city, we need to have better air quality. We need to have more sustainable mobility. And therefore, our intervention was on the public transport system. We started to develop what's called a jaklingko project, and it is a public transport integration project. So the key word was integration. How do we integrate? In what aspect? Three things. We are integrating the routes, we're integrating the payment system, and also the management. So we have had public transport for so many years. However, they're operating individually, some small, some micros, and we in government were simply regulators. And we have some of our bus line as operators. But when we are talking about integrations, we are integrating all of the public transport in Jakarta into a single system. That started in 2018. And as we went through this process, we are so happy and so proud to see the result. Number one, as you mentioned earlier, about coverage. We double it. Number two, which is more important, we are seeing ridership that has increased 3 times. We used to have around 350,000 daily ridership. Now it's 1 million daily ridership within less than 3 years. If we double our fleet, it simply means we have the money to buy more buses, right? But if we triple ridership, it means there is a change of behavior in the public from previously using private vehicles into public transport. And when it happens, then we are seeing some of this result. One, better air quality, that's for sure. And number two, congestion level. Jakarta was the 3rd most congested city in the world in the year 2017. By the year 2021, 4 years later, we were ranked number 46. Okay, 3rd, and then we're number 7, and then we're number 10, and then we're number 32, and then we're number 46. So a clear decline of congestion level. We are not perfect yet, because our target is to reach 4 million daily riderships in 2030. However, looking at our journey in the past 4 years, I'm quite optimistic that we will reach the 4 million daily riderships in a much earlier way. So that's one, which is clearly, we are seeing the shift in the behavior of the public. And we do hope, and this is also our message, that developing public transport is not only about mobility, it's also create a feeling of togetherness, feeling of equality, because it is in the public transport where government's presence is equal to everyone. You may be a CEO, you may be a homeless, you may be an unemployed. You will stand on the same line, you're using the same tickets, you'll be standing on the same place, you'll be sitting next to one another. So I am seeing this beyond transportation objective. This is one of our avenue to build the feeling of equality, the feeling of togetherness within our society in Jakarta. And in a city like Jakarta, where we started with disparities quite wide, we do hope that public transport will be an important channel to create the feeling of oneness in our city. Number one is by ensuring the quality of services are improving continuously. Continuous improvement is a must. And then number two is we are converting our fleet into electric vehicles. So we want to do a double step here. When we are addressing climate change, greenhouse gas emission reduction, one is by trying to migrate our population from private vehicle to public vehicles, but the public vehicles needs to be electrified.
So we'll be seeing electric buses.
We are already having electric buses. We have around 40 now. By the end of the year, we'll have about 100. And the next step is by 2030, all our buses, all our fleets will be electric. So new procurement of buses will be electric buses. So with that, we can send a message to everyone that, you know, if you take public transport, you are truly part of responsible citizen to the world. And then the third is about reductions of family spending. In Jakarta, some families could have spent up to 30% of their monthly spending for mobility. By using public transport, they'll be spending about 8%. So a serious reduction from 30% of spending for mobility to 8%. So our journey on this issue is truly beneficial for the environment, for the economy, and also for the sociology of our society. This is like a chicken and egg problem. Which should come first? You know, at the end of the day, government will have to keep continuing providing charging station. It's a must. But if I may offer some perspective on this, I would rather promote and push public transport based on electric rather than private. Private is good enough. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But government effort should be on the public transport. Why that is the case? Here is the reason. When families purchasing electric vehicle, it is likely to be an additional vehicle to their garage instead of a substitute. So if you have two cars in your family...
The first one would be with gasoline.
Yeah, well, you already have two cars, for example. The third cars that you bought will create another car in your garage instead of, you know, selling another one. And then you keep two cars, one electric, one combustion based. I think that has not been the trend yet. So if we are continuing on that journey, that means we'll have more cars in our street. But if we promote electric public transport, then we are converting from private vehicles into public transport, and the public transport is electrified. So we'll have a double win. Let me give you one illustration that when Jakartans lives anywhere in the city, they can work anywhere and their transportation costs will be much lower than if they are using private vehicles. If you are moving from the south side of Jakarta to the north side of Jakarta, you may be spending around $7, $8. Right? But if you are using our public transport, it costs you only 75 cents, US dollars. So it shows that it is much more efficient for everyone to actually use public transport. And our effort here, we would like to see household production, small and micro businesses able to distribute their product anywhere in the city in an efficient way. It is contributing significantly. So greenhouse gas emission is an issue that we would like to seriously tackle. So here are our efforts. One is building the public transport. Number two is emission control to all vehicles that we have been doing. And number three, building more parks in the city. So we have built around 440 parks, renovated and built 440 parks in the past 4 years. That's on the park. And on the emission control, starting in 2020, it is mandatory. 2021, it was mandatory to have your vehicles checked. And then on the public transport, as I explained earlier, what are the results? We targeted to have 30% greenhouse gas emission reduction. 30% reduction by 2030. Now it's 2022, and we have reached 26%. So we are ahead of the target, and we have 4% to go, and we have 8 more years to go.
Okay.
So I'm quite optimistic that perhaps around 2025 or 2026 at the latest, we will reach the target of 30% greenhouse gas emission. These numbers were there. So it is very important for us here in Jakarta to realize that the achievement that we are seeing is not the achievement of the governor, it's not the achievement of the government, it is the achievement of collective work of everyone. Because when so many people were switching from private vehicle to public vehicles, they contributed to this effort. When parks were built, when trees were grown, that contributed to that. When you go to a service station and check your emission standards, then you're part of that. So we are seeing participants all over our city, and that contributed to our achievement. So as I mentioned earlier, we would like to have all our public transport fleet electrified by 2030. And our approach is whenever new procurement is taking place, then the new procurement will be electric. So the process is gradual. It is a gradual process, and then at the end, by 2030, all the fleets will be electrified. We have started with 40 now, and we are seeing very interesting results.
Do you foresee any upcoming challenge that will make the progress somewhat, more complicated?
I think we may be even seeing much faster progress. Why? Because of scale. When demand are growing, then production scale will go up too, and costs will be reduced, because it's about scale. If the demand is small, then production is also small, and therefore unit cost is high. But when government increase the demand for electric vehicles, then the production cost will be reduced, the economic scale will be increased, and at the end, the price will go down. When it comes to environmental issues, cities are often being looked at as source of problems, because that's where pollutions were produced. Air pollution, water, and all of that. It's in the cities. But let's not forget, it is also in the cities where breakthroughs were created. It is in the cities too where innovations, creativity of new solutions were created. So city is the home of solutions for this. And when it comes to mobility, it is in the city that we are showing to the entire populations breakthrough on tackling climate change problem. Now, financing is one aspect. So when it comes to the call from U20 to the G20 to support sustainable mobility in the city, because it requires large investment to convert our fleet from combustion base into electric base. It is expensive. And the benefit of that is being felt at the national level. Let's say Jakarta. When Jakarta public transport is green, when air quality in Jakarta is improved, the benefit is not only for the people of Jakarta, but the benefit is for Indonesia. The same thing as any other cities and other countries. If the urban areas is able to tackle its air pollution problem, the overall number in that country will look much better. Yes. And therefore, we would like national government all over the world, through the G20 leadership, to help city government on this transition. Many city government may not have enough access to financing. They may not have enough resources to actually execute the plan. But with the backup of national government, they will be able to do that. And therefore, the calling is for national government to support urban leadership in the transformation into sustainable mobility, so that all cities able to do what Jakarta has been trying to do in a faster way, in the larger scale.
And can we all limit the global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius?
I do hope so. I mean, if we are serious on this, we will be able to maintain the temperature increase below 1.5. That's the commitment. That's a world commitment, and I think all of us need to be part of that. And when it comes to commitments and delivery, it means fiscal allocations. If we allocate enough resources, we will be able to achieve that.
Yeah, and limit the global temperature rise
sure.
to 1.5 degrees Celsius. What are the key lessons, particularly in public transport development in Jakarta, that can be sort of like a model to answer the challenge of climate crisis?
From my experience, it is important to utilize existing ecosystem and improve it instead of creating a new one. That's also our experience in Jakarta. We have various different operators of public transport, and we do not eliminate them. Instead, we invite them to be part of our system. If I may name a few, there is a Microtrans, and then you have a medium size like Kopaja, like Metro Mini, and then you have a bigger size of bus. Those have been in operations for decades. We invited them to be part of our transportation system, and we are paying their services. So we pay them based on kilometers. They have to go around a certain route for 100 kilometers per day, plus minus 10 kilometers. And then the general public that used to be paying directly to them, this time they pay to us. And the payment is around 75 cents per 3 hours. Okay? So we pay the operators by kilometers. The public is paying to government per 3 hours. And it is using account-based ticketing. So everyone have their own account. From our experience with that approach, we are able to create a healthy public transport ecosystem. The businesses are growing. We're not eliminating them. And on the other hand, their experience in providing public transport will continue, and the general public are benefiting. And on the other hand, we are seeing more and more people willing to use public transport because they're familiar with that.
Yeah.
I think if national government and then municipal government, provincial government were able to set a common objective on the creations of sustainable mobility, and together finding access to financing, that is the kind of collaboration that's needed. Jakarta, for example, we are building our MRT system, and it is a collaborative work between national government and our government at the provincial level, and we work together to get international funding for this project. And if we at the city level were trying to get that on our own, it will be extremely difficult. First, there is regulation barriers. Number two, is the scale is such a large scale that it requires national support. So the collaboration that is needed is collaboration within the border of our city. I mean, our government, central, local, and then partnering with the available funding for green project. That's the kind of collaboration that's needed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Governor, for your time. We all hope that Jakarta will be greener with better and improved transportation system for years to come.